Today I'm going to be showing you how to quote a BOP policy with us. By now you're familiar with our new website, and you know that you can get a quote by going directly to get a quote and choosing the line of business, in this case BOP, or by going to either the personal lines or, in this case, commercial lines, business owner policy, and going to our BOP screen where you can find quick reference guide. This is also where you will be able to click and see the URB forms associated with the BOP, our BOP guidelines, or our eligible classes. In the quote itself, you'll be able to see our eligible classes as well. If you were to click on the guidelines, you'd come to the section that has guidelines of BOP and SMP. Now keep in mind the system I'm going to show you and the system online only quotes BOPs. You still have to contact your underwriter to get an SMP quote. So if you're looking to quote a lesser's risk or mixed habitational, you won't see the questions that you need to see for those types of businesses on the BOP. You still have to, like I said, contact an underwriter for those. So if we click on get a quote, we're going to get to the system that quotes BOPs. There are a bunch of options here, but right now we're going to do a new quote. Click on new quote, and it'll bring you here. The most important thing to pay attention to on this screen is the effective date. Since you have binding authority with the BOP, when you issue a policy, it actually becomes live on our system right away. So if you were to bind it and issue it with the effective date of, say, today, but you really didn't want the policy effective till another day, you can't change it once it's been issued. It would have to be a cancel flat and rewrite, and we all know what a pain that is. So if you do know that it's going to be a future date, you would choose it here. We're going to enter the information. Business type. We will write an individual, a corporation, or a partnership. Put in whatever information you have here. Phone or email. The address. This is a smart system. So as soon as you put in the zip code, it formats it and it asks you to accept the postal format. Pre-qualifying questions. Is this a new venture? We do take new ventures. The only difference is you wouldn't have to put in a prior company. We have 4 classification groups: retail, service, food, and office. And within those, we have all different classifications. So under retail, and I'll scroll through these and you can read them while I'm not scrolling fast. All the retail operations that we write from A to Z, and you'll find the same thing under food and service. So let's quote a bakery. And office, I should have mentioned. Office, we classify only one way, as an office. So let's quote a food. We'll quote a bakery that bakes on the premises. How many locations to be insured? We do insure up to 3 locations on a policy. So if somebody or some corporation owns a couple of locations, you can put them all on the same policy, up to 3. Like I said before, lesser's risk, mixed habitational, that stuff is not quoted. Also, the larger BOPs that go on our SMP are not quoted here. So if you were to say yes to this, it would come back as ineligible as soon as we hit next. A couple of other things that we don't accept that we ask about here. Seasonal operations, no. Is it currently open and operating, which it needs to be, yes. Currently being renovated, which is not allowed, no. Is the risk open 24 hours a day? No, not in this case, it's a bakery. But if it were, it would ask you if it's a laundromat, because a laundromat is the only 24-hour-a-day business we accept. Combined limits more than $2 million. Some of these we default, and some of them we don't. Coverage declined, no. Open claims, no. Something we don't accept. Liquor sales exceeding 35%, we'll say no. These default as well. These questions, if you were to answer yes, it's going to tell you it's ineligible. But again, it's only ineligible for BOP. It is potentially eligible for SMP. So if you hit yes here and hit next and you get, we're sorry, this risk is out of underwriting guidelines. Again, these are just for BOP, not for SMP. So you'd call your underwriter on that. So let's say no. Location address, if the mailing address is the same, we can leave this. Again, this is another opportunity to add another location. On to the liability. We've already selected these. We only write our deluxe BOP on our LS6 form. If you want to look up anything about the LS6 form, these little question marks, sometimes they have very little information on the question, sometimes they have more. This is very basic, but if you want to look at the LS6 form, you could come back to the BOP page, and under the URB forms, you could read the LS6 form. Limits, we write 1/2 or 2/4. You can increase the medical payments. You can't take off the personal injury, that's included. Tells you the limit of it, that's all. Fire legal, if you want to increase it, you'd increase it here. We always include products and completed ops. We ask if food and beverages are consumed on the premises. Let's say there's a table or two in this bakery. Property coverage. So here's where we're going to enter information on the building and the property. So in addition to writing 3 locations on a policy, we'll also write 3 buildings on a policy. So say this bakery was in a parking lot and the one building did the sales and there was another building across the parking lot that did the baking or was storage or something, and you'd want to put another building on here. But in this case, let's just say it's a one building. You could put here, you could put bakery, you could put anything that's a free filled form. You don't have to put anything if it just differentiates the different buildings. Is building coverage required? If they own the building, you'd say yes here. You'd put the coverage amount and change the deductible if you wanted, but let's just say they're renting. Business property, this is another free filled field. $25,000 minimum, you can increase that if you'd like. You can increase the deductible. We include property replacement costs. I can't see unchecking that. Construction type, construction year. Oop, no, it doesn't matter. We said that they don't want building coverage, so let's say that it's a lease. Sole occupancy, if it's the only business in the building, you'd click that. Loss of income, you can increase. Protection class, you'd choose here. Have electric and heating completely been upgraded? You want to check that on an older building if that's been done. Any tenant I and B. If there were improvements and betterments that the tenant did, you'd click yes. You'd describe them. You'd put the amount of insurance you want. Deductible follows the policy deductible. Additional insureds, this is where you'd put the landlord. We won't put them for our purposes. This is where you would put any alarms or smoke detectors that the business has. Hood and duct system. If they're doing cooking and they have a hood and duct system, this tells you, by the way, these question marks will tell you the discounts for all these. Let's say yes, because they are cooking. These are checked because we do require the maintenance contract and the fire suppression system. Losses, hopefully not. If there were, you'd put them there. If not, we click next. These are some optional coverages. We default them to be no, but if you wanted to add any of these, things that we offer. You could add them here. These are coverages that are also optional, and you can get them by location. So, for example, if the one location needed food spoilage and the other didn't, you could add it here, and you'd have this page would be here for every location. We only have one location, so it's only going to appear once. But if there were two, it would appear twice. So, things that you might want to add, probably not in a bakery, but assault and battery, waiver of subro. Some of them we default. Equipment breakdown, it's a great coverage. Question mark will tell you a little bit about it. You can look up the form again on the ORB forms if you want to read more about it, but this is the gist of it. So we like that one. We think that's a good coverage, so we keep it clicked on yes. You can see these all default to no. And the reason is these are all included in our business extender. So clicking on that question mark, you'll see what's included in the business extender. We always, recommend writing with that coverage because it does include a lot of things. So this explains what it includes. Fit 5,000 for these coverages. So say, for example, signs. We're including 5,000 here. Now, if you have more sign, you want more sign coverage, you could click yes and add up to $5,000 more. Or if you wanted more food spoilage, you could put in an amount there. But keep in mind, a lot of that is included already. Then you've got coverages on the building level. Since we aren't insuring the building, we're just going to skip right through that. Few underwriting questions. These we default to no. Hopefully they're all no's. Questions about other insurance. Well, that's not hopefully a no, but the foreclosure, crime, building code violations. Hopefully those are all no questions. Inspection contact. You need to put in some contact information there. How many years have they been in business? How many years have they been at the location? You could use these clocks to tell us what time they open and what time they close. Food sales estimate. These are the questions for the hood and duct system. So let's say they don't have a grill, but they have a fryer and a oven. Doesn't really matter. A couple questions about restaurant specific or food service specific stuff. Do they provide takeout? Yes. And we just want to know the percentage, which is high because it's a bakery. If they do any catering off premises, we want to know about that. That's okay. Valet and tableside cooking, two things that we want to default no to. You've got your billing screen, 1 pay financing, 3 or 5 pay. In this case, we didn't add a mortgagee as an additional insured, but you could have added that and then we could mortgagee bill. And then you have your quote. This is very basic information about the quote. You've got your amount, your premium there rather. But if you want to check out the proposal, which is actually a very nice proposal, it tells you all the coverages that we're including in the policy. It gives the insured a really good idea of the coverage they're getting. You've got your premium there. You've got your basic liability stuff there, but it does tell them their limits. And it also tells them all of the other coverages that are included here, as well as the coverages from the business extender. So like I had said before, it's a great value. This business extender, that's the premium, and these are all the coverages that are included. And then you've got your pay plan options. So from there you can print the proposal, the quote, or download it to your computer. And from here you can either leave the system and come back and retrieve the quote another day. You come back in another day and you're on this screen, pull up an existing quote, you can search for it, or you can issue the policy. You'd have to print the application first, and you've seen these before. This is all Accord forms, 12 pages of it. Print it, download it. This is everything you need, including our restaurant supplement down here somewhere. Once you've printed the application, you are ready to issue. At this point, you want to double check the effective date. If you don't have the right effective date, say this is, a couple days later and they've come back to bind it, but they don't want it effective till Monday or something, at this point, you would have to go out of the quote. You would have to change the effective date. You'd have to do it here, because the first screen, if you go back to it, is not the screen with the effective date. This is where you change the effective date. But to go back to the quote, which is where we would be issuing from, like I said, there's the change the effective date button. You could actually issue the policy. And once the policy has been issued, you will have your deck page, all the policy information and everything like that. Then from there, you would go ahead. It's not integrated, but you would go make the payment back on our website. Under Manage Policies, you'd go in, put the policy information that you have. A policy number. It has a Q in front of it now because it's in quoting mode, but once you've issued it, it'll be just the BOP, and you can cut and paste that and go over and where did I put that? There it is. We can make a payment here. So that is quoting and issuing a BOP policy. From here, you can just exit out.